Live. We'll see if I keep this one up. Usually these Darkos are usually the ones that I end up getting rid of. So we'll see. I'll mostly freestyle this one, but I wanted to talk about power dynamics. I saw some videos today of China, North Korea, and Russia hanging out with each, like the three leaders of those countries were hanging out with each other, and of course all of them are autocracies. Pretty much they have a totalitarian dictators, and it prompts me to understand like it makes me watching that made me want to get on this live feed and kind of like, at least to the small community that I have and to the influential figures that I have, kind of illustrate the responsibility that we have in the West, specifically in the U.S. Somebody put Liver King, his voice changed. I'm the Liver King, bro. I think it's a good play on words. It's the only name, I've actually changed my name quite a few times on social media, and it's like the Lever King is the only one that ever stuck. By the way, can everybody hear me? Because I have a little microphone in here. It should make the audio a little bit cleaner. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Okay, cool. You guys can hear me. Good. Am I still writing that book? I had to put it on a high. I had to put it on the shelf for a little bit just because it's like there's so much going on with Project Function right now. There's a lot of moving parts happening within it, and my bandwidth is just not there. But yeah, I think that there's a few ways to gain power. The way that I think it needs to be done, like usually what you'll find with any like government, with any group of people, there's always some kind of tyranny that is rained down upon people that forces them to fall in line. Like there's always like a punishment associated. Sometimes it can be jail. Sometimes it can be like literally uh, physical violence. I think what makes FP fundamentally different is if we gain influence on the civilization, if we move forward and do gain power and influence, that it's not going to be done by force. I think the main difference is going to be between the way that we do it and the way that it's typically done is that it won't really be done through coercion. It won't be done through force, obviously not through violence. It's really just going to be because it's going to just feel so good when people listen to what we talk about. I've kind of had a reputation in the past where people have seen me as being like tyrannical. They'll say, "Yeah, you're a tyrant and whatnot." But this is kind of what you have to. There's ways that you have to run a company if you want it to like function. But 1 second, man, IG is literally not delivering this to anybody right now. It's crazy. But yeah, there's a way that you have to run a corporation, and brand loyalty is a big part of it. If the people aren't loyal to the brand, if they're not loyal to the company, then you can't really hire them. You wouldn't want somebody like stealing money out of the cash register if you had like a store or whatever. But long term, my goal is that it's like people will see what I turn into, what I turn people into, and then that's going to motivate them to want to participate in FP. That's the plan, at least. I think I already got most of my ideas out. That's good. That was a very condensed one. I can't have these people trying to invite themselves to talk on the live. Stop doing that. Like I'm not gonna bring you on. I can't do that. You know, one thing that's actually that I'll bring up that I think would be that is interesting. I wonder how many people in the fitness industry are actually they're federal. How many? I've thought this question. I'm not trying to be like super conspiratorial, but I have to imagine that there's a lot of people that are in the fitness industry that are like. I'm probably going to get down to like one live viewer when I start talking about this, but I have to imagine that there are federal agents that are in the fitness industry. Like when I look at like the landscape of the political spectrum, like when I look at the politics in like the fitness culture, I'm just like, is it strictly biological? I have to imagine that there are plants in this field. I'm just thinking out loud. I've been thinking about this a lot with figures that are in, and I'm like, are these dudes CIA? You know what I mean? I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm curious with the audience. Like, have I lost my shit, or is there a possibility that some of these figures that are like known were put there? Why would there be plants? Somebody writes, because you may want to shape the youth to think a certain way. You see that a certain type of a certain set of ideas are permeating in the culture, and what you say is okay. Well, what you do is you say, okay, how do we counter that? Who are the types of people that we would put out into the idea landscape to try and see if we can shift the narratives over in the direction of other people. Rowie writes the NSA maybe. Yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like yeah, I guess that could be potentially it. I'd imagine the CIA would probably be it. What motive would the CIA have? I mean, shaping the youth, especially like young males and shit. I think that would be a big part of it. Like if they notice a youth, and it's not that I'm even against the CIA. I think like people bash on it. I'm sure that it's done a lot of good. We just don't. People just think government immediately. They think that hey, it's all bad. But um, yeah, like I would imagine like what the motive would be. Again, it's to shape the youth to be a particular way, to not go communist. I would have to imagine. Ah, okay. Rowie writes, CIA is foreign affairs. No, but didn't they engage in the Tuskegee experiments? No, bro. I think it's still they still deal with domestic affairs too, bro. I don't think that's only foreign. But yeah, I guess what you're saying, yeah, it would be NSA because of that. You're thinking that okay, that's your conclusion. Yeah, it's like domestic NSA. Yeah, okay. Somebody just wrote, yeah, CIA has done domestic operations as well. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I have to imagine there's quite a few figures of this industry. I think we'd probably like in the next 20, 30 years, we're gonna look back and be like, oh damn, these people literally worked for the CIA, and as part of like they were being paid to be these plants and promote certain messaging. Luke Johnson writes, or John Kagan or something like that. If there are a lot of plants in music shaping culture, it's not far fetched to assume there are plants in the fitness industry. Yeah, and the thing is, it's like we can call it the fitness industrial complex. It's a mega like at this point I think it's almost $1 trillion industry, guys. If you take into account all the gyms, all the fitness products, um, the supplement industry as a whole, we're talking about $1 trillion industry. So at this point, we could start calling it the fitness industrial complex. There's a lot of money like that goes into like all the shit that we see. Yeah, Rowie writes, there are enough government agencies that can have interest. Yeah, and that's the thing. I then begin to like look around me and I'm like, and I've asked this question for a while. I'm like, are the people that are close to me ops? You know what I mean? Like, are they fucking agents? I've wondered. I even when I run like HBS and like when we have like human foundations courses, I'm just kind of like, how many of these people are fucking straight up? How many of these people are actual spies right now? How much is FP in the world of the like in the secret CIA cities or whatever the fuck? Somebody writes, how can someone take control of its dopamine system so that one can focus more on doing the work that's really needed? Um, I don't know, bro. I mean, I think is you just understanding like engaging in mental visualizations, understanding that like that karma pretty much it does exist, and that whatever you do right now that's irresponsible, you're gonna have to pay for later. Like procrastination is gonna screw you. So it's just you have to visualize the negative consequences associated with procrastination and action faking. Maybe get a little bit of fear in you. I always live in fear, guys. Like fear has always been like a big driver for me. Like the company does well, like functional patterns does well, but it's not doing good enough. And so for me, when I'm running the team and whatnot, I make them aware of the perils associated with a company like this. That in one moment you could be, having free trade, and the next minute you have a 50% tariff that's lobbed on your company, and then you have to adjust to that. like I anticipate these things. What's funny is it was like I was talking to my Bruno, like he's one of the heads of FP Innovations and Project Function. I was talking about it, and I remember after Trump got elected, I was just like distraught. I was like, "No, don't do this, guys! Like, don't do it." And I was like, "Man, like, why am I so concerned about this? It's just another president." And I'm like, "No, there's a reason for it now. You're anticipating something. Something wild's gonna happen, and it's gonna cause you a lot of fucking problems." And then boom, like fucking a month and a half ago, it's like, "Yeah, you're gonna get a 50% tariff on your company." I'm like, "Are you kidding me, bro? Like, what the fuck?" And so then Bruno's like, "Bro, I can't believe you predicted that." I remember when I had like somebody that worked for the company prior, I was like, "Yeah, I think 2020 is gonna be a really rough year, bro. Something fucked up is gonna happen, something bad. I don't know if it's gonna be like an economic downturn or whatever the fuck." And COVID ends up happening, and I remember he was like, "Dude, you totally called that," because I don't say that every year, but I was like, I feel like 2020 is something to catch up to us. All this bullshit that we've been engaging in, it's like all this instability. It's gonna lead up to something, and I was like, I think 2020 year is gonna be a rough year, and then boom, it hits, and I'm like, oh my god. And then when Trump won, I was like, oh shit, we're gonna be in for it. Rowie writes, I would be more concerned about corporate espionage. The market is ahead of the government. Yeah, well, that's why I have like a fucking non-disclosure agreements and whatnot. It's like that's why I put that there. But then at the same time, bro, like, look, guys, I'll be very, very frank. Like, I don't impart everything I know. There's still so much. Well, the thing is, like, even the thing is, I physically can't impart everything I know. I can't. But because there's like a limitation, there's like a barrier of me trying to communicate it for one, and it's just a pain in the ass to try and communicate it. So most of what I know, I can't even communicate to begin with. But even what I could communicate, I have to withhold some semblance. The information you're going to get through to HBS is just it's second to none. It's literally like 4 or 5 decades ahead of the competition. But it's like I have to keep things a secret, and it's because of what Roey's saying, corporate espionage. Espionage. If they're going to get people that pop into our human foundations and HBS courses, thinking about trying to find ways to get stuff. It's why I can't really make myself available at HBS courses either, because I don't even know how many corporate spies we have in these courses to begin with. Like, do I want to impart any IP on them that's gonna like help them get like some kind of an advantage? I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. I wonder how many people here like don't understand anything that I'm saying. I don't know I don't know how what I'm talking about is not completely like how does not anybody else think this is like super fascinating? I've always wondered that. Like trying to understand how the world like trying to come to a closer approximation as to how the world actually works. Like I don't get it. Naveen writes, they ruin it for everyone else. Yeah, absolutely, bro. Like I wish it didn't have to be this way. Way back in the day, I used to allow people to film whatever they wanted in my master courses and whatnot, and even in my HBS courses. I was like, yeah, film whatever you want. I don't care. I wouldn't even protect anything. But then I started realizing the consequences associated to that, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. I should not be doing this. I did it for years. When I was all over Europe, when people would fly to me, I would like be like, yeah, film whatever you want. Manny Alonso Hernandez writes regarding my confusion about people not being super interested in what I'm talking about, and he said it's completely fascinating. People are too drugged out to pay attention. I think that's probably it. I can imagine a scenario of attempt stealing Project Function technology and give it to China. Yeah, I could see that, but they're still gonna have difficulties trying to replicate what's there, bro. It's like, bro, there's layers to this. The thing is, bro, you already have second and third generations that they're not gonna figure out. They won't figure it out. It's not gonna happen. Like I said, there's layers to this, bro. So even if they try, it's gonna be really tough. My goal at the end of the day is really just to get um, America to figure this out because I don't trust China. I don't trust Russia. I obviously don't trust North Korea. And when they're all buddying up, I'm like, no, it needs to be like the U.S. needs to remain on top. The U.S. has led responsibly over the last almost 100 years, and it needs to be America first. It really does. Like, and I don't mean like hey, look, like the rest of the world can go screw itself. I just mean like there needs to be a westernized uh, world order. I think it does need to be westernized. You have to operate through democracy. It's like democracy is the least worst system that exists. I don't want to be living in a totalitarian dictatorship. And if we have a democracy, we need to preserve that. So for me, at the end of the day, I'm going to try and use all my resources, um, like I'm going to use all the resources that I can to try and build out the West. That's really it. Steve Petros writes, it's crazy how many people are doing FP and not giving credit. Danny shared a clip the other day of somebody basically posting the FTS. Absolute fraud. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. It's just that's how that's how this industry is. But that's why I've kept innovating, man. Like I don't. I'll tell you guys a story. I remember this is back like in 2011, 2012 when I first opened up my facility in San Diego, my first facility. I had an intern. He worked with me. We had a falling out, and then somehow through that falling out, he figured he could just take everything that I taught him and make a YouTube channel and post everything on YouTube. And I was just like, whoa. Even though I didn't learn my lesson after that, I thought that he was just a fluke. But he literally left and he tried to post everything just to see if he could maybe get ahead of me and outcompete me on YouTube. And it didn't work, but I was just like, eventually he wound up deleting all the material on his page because nobody engaged with it. But I was like, wow, that's crazy. I just thought it was like a one off. And then time moved forward and the pattern kept repeating, and I was just like, dude, like, uh, this is gonna be a constant. And the only way that you're gonna see yourself out of this, to not have to deal with the circumstance of people engaging in plagiarism, the only way you will be able to move past that is if you keep innovating to such a degree where other people can't catch up. And I wasn't sure that I would be able to do that. And it wasn't until about like 2016 that I was like, oh, okay. I had been around enough people and saw how they would get stuck and plateau, and then that informed me that okay, I was developing system. I had a way of like breaking um, through like getting out of my boxes is how I explain it. And so that's what like I just kept trying to break out of my box, like whatever my perceptions were. Right now I'm going through the same process, and it's so wild right now, guys. The cavitations are just like constant, and the places that they're happening is just like wild. The MT guy is blatantly copying and then tries to market it as quantum biomechanics. Yeah, it's pretty hilarious, bro. It seems like he took the term quantum, which is like popular, and then he just like decided to apply it and just say, hey, look, like I'm gonna take a buzzword and then just use it to see if I can like get people to buy in. I'll say this, look, guys, it's like these individuals don't attract usually the highest caliber individuals. They don't bring in the sorry, that's redundant. These influencers don't bring in the highest caliber people. For them, it's more about drawing in the masses at the expense of uh, not pulling in quality, not engaging in like quality control. For me, it's always been about quality before quantity. Like, don't get me wrong, we get some decent quantity with people. Um, there's quite a few like people that come through, but for me, it's still always about trying to get good quality individuals that are down to support the cause, that are down to try and do the right things, who aren't afraid to work. I think that's the big thing too. Many people shy away from having a regular job and showing up to work every day, and I can understand that. I can get it. Some days you feel a little bit tired. People's bodies or their metabolisms aren't built to be able to show up to a job every single day. I'm not opposed to that. I'm trying to kind of like organize my life so I can live like that. But with these influencer types, they're kind of always just. I think it's the aim to try and avoid having a regular job. Somebody wrote the funny thing is that he charges way more than the 10-week course. You'd have to be a poop for brains to buy it. Yeah, pretty much. Danny Vega writes, actual clients don't give AF about seeing you exercise or you being a talking head. All they care about is results. That's absolutely true. I agree. Steve Petros, you noticed it too, bro. He writes, you look closely at these people copying FP, and you can almost see the dishonesty in their archetype and how they communicate. Yeah, bro. I think at some stage people like when they've gone through enough in life, if they've like developed any skill set, they begin to understand like what who the bad guys really are, like what they actually sound like, and um, what's that song? Smiling faces tell lies. So usually, the friendlier they sound, most of the time it seems to be a form of deception to cover up something more nefarious. Biohack Boy writes, "Why do FP defectors feel the need to take shots at FP after they leave? It's just it's they're trying to see if they can take people that are disgruntled, that are unhappy with an FP because maybe it didn't satisfy them immediately, to see if they could like bring them over. It's just these days there's not very many people. Like when we have, I can't tell you guys how many people we have on the waiting list just for HBS, but it's a staggering number. I still can't believe it. I can't believe how big that number is, and it's still growing. And I'm like, I can't believe we have that many people that are HF Human Foundation certified. Like our conversion rate from getting people that are Human Foundation certified to HBS. I mean, it's not 100%, but I mean, we're getting like it's getting ridiculously close to that point where we're like starting to like the majority of the people are transitioning from Human Foundations courses to HBS, and to me that's just wild. And so I think that the idea is that they try like back in the day the method wasn't as good and there was still more variables we weren't accounting for, and then never mind that the industry was just still very nascent in its understandings on functionality. Now the psychology is different and the method's a lot better. The certifications have been much more refined. Like all the material that we cover is just a lot better than what it used to be. And then plus we just have like people use the vector trainer for example, and they it's pretty unanimous. Most people are like they really enjoy it. Like anybody who has a vector trainer in their facility, their clients seem to be very motivated by the machine. They like to use it. So there's just a lot more going on these days, and it's hard to have people like uh, leave and then like cause problems the way they did before. It's very minuscule these days. I mean, maybe I'm just not. It could be that I'm not paying attention to it too. So I don't know. I don't know how prominent that it is, but I know that it's not because I don't see it in my DMs. Like whenever the few times a day that I check the DMs, it's like I don't see it popping, the drama popping up on my DMs. And maybe you guys are just being considerate and not showing it to me, but it would be people that weren't even in FP that would want to show the drama. But it's very rare that that happens anymore. So the defectors do it in an attempt to see if they can maybe like, you know, like poach a few people that are in the FP community or whatever, and they'll do it, but it's just they might do that. The people might have doubt about me or functional patterns for like whatever a few months or a few years until they realize that the promises that other people make to help the promises that other people in this field make that are supposedly going to help people, when they realize that those promises aren't going to be fulfilled, they usually end up coming back realizing that the correct path was with FP all along. Danny Vega writes, Stephen Petros, yeah, they literally move and look like snakes most of the time. LOL. Yeah, it's kind of what it is, man. And the thing is, I got this information from people that ran infomercials back in the 1990s. It was like again where my distrust with a lot of the systems that exist in our society that like the infomercials were what got me, and the fitness ones were just so bogus that I was like that stuff can't work. And so I see those same archetypes in a lot of these influencers online today. Just very corny. Naveen writes, audience capture. He's speaking with regard to people that have their grievances with the FP after they leave. He's saying that it's because of audience capture. All the salty losers who left got kicked out, kicked all like engaged with all the content, so it serves them to. I'm not sure what you mean by that. You have to write it again. Let me put it this way: a lot of times people get really disgruntled with myself and with our community because they'll send us results, and then the team is like, yeah, I don't like they'll send a before and after, and on the before the person will be standing the way that they are, and on the after you can see their client clearly flexing, and we're like, no, like the person needs to like be relaxed in their stance. They need to adopt their new posture, and it needs to be at least like 99.5% intrinsic or something like that. But when you have people that are like literally just flexing in front of a before and after, you're gonna be like, dude, I'm not gonna have my team give an approval on that. Like, we're not gonna do that. So I think that sometimes people get like when they post the results and then the team denies them, they don't. I just think that there's some people that don't do well with rejection. Like they don't bounce back from it very well. And so I think that sometimes people have grievances because they'll post a result and it doesn't get approved, and they were never good at dealing with rejection to begin with. So when you end up becoming the source of that rejection to them, it's like it's tough. Andy Lamb writes, clients can't get enough of the vector. I guess it'll be interesting once you get the project function tech in there. I'm sure they're going to go even more crazy. There was a guy, Raphael 6.2 writes, there was a guy a few years ago who was just training clients with the 10-week content and FP exercises from social media. And they interviewed him and he was like, I've always just been very creative. uh, Naveen writes, seeing the likes on those videos of people, he's referring to people that are copycats, is a good way to check on who to unfollow. Absolutely. Like so many times when people like engage in this, like I don't really complain about it that much. It's like if you want to find out who to not let into the next HBS courses, you just look at the people that have the grievances, air them out, and then you see the people that support them and click like on those posts, and you're like, oh, okay, well, these are going to be the individuals that we don't allow into the next courses. It's kind of like, at that point, it's like it saves us time. So to me personally, it's like it just makes things a lot easier. What's the result that you've gotten that you're most proud of? I don't know, man. I mean, all the results, I mean, that we get, I mean, I guess I take credit for that. So any result that's out there, I take credit for each one of them. So I don't know, man. It's hard to say. I've done some stuff on scoliosis that I thought was pretty cool. At some stage, I want to get back into training people so I could really like show you guys what I can do. Oh, because if I did it now, I think it would be gnarly. If I just had like maybe about like 3 or 4 people that were like really really motivated to. Well, you know what? Look at Alpuni Pagoa. Look at what his body was like a few years ago. Look at what he was a year ago, even 2 years ago, and then look at what his body is now, and then that'll give you like a good inclination as to like kind of what we're doing to some degree. But yeah, he's an example of somebody that I've worked with, and he's looking pretty jacked. So I would say just look at Alpuni. If you look at Johnny Eblen lately, he's put on some size, especially after using the Project Function tech. He put on some size. Danny Vega writes, seen this repeat multiple times. Get no results with clients or yourself. Start looking at other training instead of asking why you're falling short where others succeed. Leave FP and be a talking head. Yeah, that happens a lot. That does happen a lot. What I find this interesting is that you guys are noticing it now. uh, Steve Petros writes, we nearly had to create a roster for when trainers could use the vector, but yeah, You can see a glimpse of life come back into people after they use it. Regeneration in the process in progress. Yep. What is the approval rate of FP results? I don't know, bro. I think it's maybe like 40% or something like that. 35, 40%. I mean, we approve a lot of them. Yeah, Denny wrote that it's like, yeah, 30 to 40%. Yeah, so I guess that right. Naveen writes, whenever I encounter a video of someone taking a parting shot on FP, a lot of engagement comes from the XFP people who are really salty. Alpuni is a dog. That kid, guys, that kid is so damn talented. I think there's a good likelihood that he's gonna do some special things. He's so fun to watch. Like his style is just freaking so fun to watch. Would you say the goal of Project Function is to reduce the frequency of one-on-ones yet maximize their progress on their own, therefore overall reduce costs for the consumers? I no, it's not that, Dalton. I think like imagine that you're like let me see if I can break it down properly. Imagine you're very wealthy and you have loads of disposable income and that you can afford to drop a lot of money to do personal training, right? That you're one of these people. And then like that you're going to want to hire a trainer no matter what because usually if you make a lot of money, you're going to have a very busy lifestyle and in order for you to get pulled away from work because you're making all this money, you're going to have to schedule some things in to make sure that you get pulled away from work. So it's for one, you need somebody there that's professionally going to yank you. Like I've had it like this, where I'm like, I'll work with like very high performers, and they're so like honed in on work that it's like you literally have to like extract them away from it because you're like they're just so focused on it. They can think about nothing else. It's so stressful, and so you essentially have to be there to pull them out of their stress hole and get them focused on function. So part of the process is for these individuals that are high performers, which you have a lot of them. Like America has a lot of these people, and part of the like the thing that they need is discipline. So they need to have a scheduled appointment, and then number two, they need to have somebody there to like educate them on how to move better while it's happening. Project function technology is not going to solve everything. Like it's not. Like there's still like you still have to know how to move before you like guys when I put people in these machines, like when I have the developers do it and they put the workers inside these machines, they move terribly. Like they're it's not just like hey, you go into the machine and everything just gets figured out by itself. It's not going to work that way. It's going to make things easier, but you're still going to have some semblance of passion and patience to be able to adopt this tech. So will one-on-ones reduce? I don't think so. I think they're going to go up because I think people are going to value this stuff even further. That's my supposition at this point. Could they go down? Yes, but I think if anything, what it's going to do is make Project Function going to make this available for people who don't have as much money. So now they get to do it, and they get to do it at a high level, but they don't necessarily like have to hire a trainer all the time to do it. So the objective is to just get more people doing it. Biohack Boy writes, has anyone who defected from FP spoke with you directly about their disagreements? Never once, bro. And if I've ever had anybody try and like, let me put it this way, the only thing they'll say is like, oh, functional patterns didn't fix this and this because I was doing this and this, and I'm like, I never told you to do that. It's like, hold on, you were doing a constant posterior pelvic tilt the whole time, and you were saying that it was bothering your back. I never said to constantly do a posterior tilt. Tell me where I said that, and then they just stay quiet, and they'll just start like complaining about a bunch of other stuff. I'm like, and then I'll just have to be like, bro, you're just complaining. But there's just some people that are just salty that are just never going to get over it, and let bygones be bygones, and like, and assert that hey, that maybe I'm not the source of their failures, that I can't just have all the blame placed upon me. It's a two-way street, man. That's how life is. But yeah, no, they never sit down and actually engage in the details with me. Because if you engage in the details with me, I'm not going to say that you're wrong. I'm going to be like, yeah, there may be a context where what you're saying is relevant. But what they fear the most is that I'm going to put it into a context and then say that there's like, maybe like 20,000 other contexts where that's probably not going to be applicable. I have acquired decent changes on myself, but I still fight sugar cravings later in the day, usually after work. How do I stop it? This will get figured out over time. I think once we like, I think most issues that relate to like diet, man, are they're the byproduct of of just imbalanced physiology because our biomechanics are screwed up. Like we're not dealing with anxiety properly. So it's just something that you'll have to figure out over time. It's like some of this stuff can just take time, man. You may not just be able to fix it immediately. You have to realize that behaviors like behavioral patterns are like loops. Like you just loop behaviors over and over again. So I just say don't beat yourself up about it. Inch your way to that path, and eventually you'll get there. But I'm gonna try and do everything I can with the physical body to make it more of an automatic. Naveen writes, "Why do all their gates suck though?" Um, just because they weren't born with good gait, I guess. I wasn't really like. Don't get me wrong. I've always been pretty athletic. I've always been. No, actually, that's not. I've always been really coordinated. I think I had to make myself more athletic in recent times, but I've always been quick. But yeah, some of these people just aren't like super athletic in many instances. Um, but they tend to be smarter than the average person, I would guess. Danny Vega writes, they want someone else to solve their problems for them and give them the answer that always works. And when that fails, they blame that person. They don't want to think critically and understand nuance. Absolutely, that's the whole thing. That's really the biggest struggle. Is that people just want one answer for all. People want all their problems to be a nail, and they want the solution to always be the hammer, and that there is no context. There's never a context where you need a screwdriver, a drill press, a table saw, a skill saw. Like people in many instances just they don't want to understand that like life is contextual, and that learning to master life is about acquiring tens of thousands of skills and then thinking about how you like put them into different contexts, or just learning a few basic skills and then applying them to so many other things, like applying the same first principles. Why did I shorten the RG bar from 120 centimeters to 100? It just the other way was too long. It's like like the lever becomes so damn long. It's like that. It's like it becomes uncomfortable, and there's diminishing returns on it. We might make a larger one or a shorter one for maybe for different size people, but overall, I like the shorter one better, even for taller people that I've used it with. Anyway, I think I caught up with your guys' questions. Good conversations. I'm glad that I'm not the only one seeing like the. I think it's funny that you guys are understanding the archetypical nature of people that tend to be a little bit more uh, disingenuous with the way that they engage with the world. That you guys are seeing it. Because I remember I saw it a long time ago and I'm like, there's something about that archetype. What about that archetype is telling you that there's deception built into it? And I'm sure that people would say the same about me, but again, it's like I've always had to like get results, and you guys hear that cavitation. Like I wouldn't be able to get that cavitation while I'm just chilling here if I was fully being deceptive. Like I'll get another one right now. Watch. That was a baby one. That was a good, decent one. Oh, that was a decent one. Biohack Boy writes, it's like the equivalent of a BS Kung Fu Master, but for fitness. Yeah, pretty similar, man. Like I don't want to sound overly cynical about everything, but because I said, what, I want to dial down the rhetoric. I'm starting with addressing like my swearing. I haven't been swearing as much, nowhere near as much as what I was before. So I'm making a concerted effort to start there and then see if I can find a different way to address these individuals without passing judgment. It's just like how the question is like how do you resolve these behaviors in society if the individuals that engage in them don't ever have to face accountability or some kind of judgment itself. Like, I guess that's the question I would leave to the audience. If people weren't being judged, would they change? Like, do people change under their own volition or do they change under pressures from the environment? What makes swearing a dysfunctional action? The swearing doesn't communicate anything, bro. Like, you don't have swearing in engineering. Like, if you swore in engineering, it would be useless language. So when it comes to when it comes to the language of building stuff, there's never swearing. It would just be it would be a useless thing. I just do it when I vent. Like today, I was swearing a lot because it was just a bunch of problems at the company, and so I was swearing a lot. I was very angry for a few moments. I had to get over it. I had to like try and calm myself down. Regarding my question, where I said, do people need to be judged in order for them to feel pressured to change, or do they do it under their own volition? Rodney writes, they need to be judged. Danny Vega writes, pressures every single time. External pressure, pressures, pressure, pressure. Generally triggered from the environment, pressure, pressure. So yeah, everybody's pretty much, at least everybody here is on the same page. I don't think anybody's gonna ever like disagree with that either. Like we have such a problem with judgment, but we have to face reality. Like people only respond to judgment in most instances. Like like if shame wasn't there, if there wasn't social pressure, like would people try and ever do better? I mean, there's always that fear of social exclusion is always there. I mean, biology adapts to pressures from the environment. To insist that people will just make the decision on their own is just, it's not practical. What do you think makes you empathetic? How would you amplify that? Um, I think I'm empathetic, bro, because nobody ever thought I was gonna be good at anything. Nobody thought much of me. I was a short guy, so I got made fun of it like on a regular basis. I was a Mexican and I got made fun of that on a regular basis. So I think like if you're that dude that's being made fun of all the time and tormented and bullied all the time, then like you're gonna tend to like see other people that are struggling and kind of identify with it more. So I just think it comes from that. So if you weren't raised like that, it's gonna be tough. Like because you have to like feel the same thing. You have to feel that being left out. You have to feel being the misfit. Like that has to be felt. And again, not everybody has it. So to try and access it, I mean, it really just comes down to like sitting there and trying to visualize what that person's like. I mean, when I think about like, there's never been anybody who's never been hungry. Like, imagine one day, like, you're like really hungry and you're like, you don't have food available to you immediately. But then you just say, like, well, what if I didn't have food available for me, like, for the next 3, 4 days, 5 days? Man, that would suck. You know, or imagine it's like, okay, I do get to eat, but I wouldn't get protein in this meal because in the country I could be living in somewhere else, they don't really eat protein, so I'm going to be malnourished even if I do eat. Like, I just think about that and I think about like what that would lead to, like as it relates to like atrophy in my body. Stargazer writes, I try to change under my own volition, but usually fear is what gets me to act, working on it. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm going to bed. I'm sleeping. There's a freaking like almost like 3/4 moon, and he's keeping me up. Anytime that those damn full moons come around, it's like it completely alters my circadian biology. I can even black out curtains and whatnot. It doesn't do anything. I think it's like something with the gravitational fields or something, the EMFs. Anyway, all the best, guys. Bye.